So, for the people that are not familiar with you and your channel, can you give a little bit of a backstory?
My channel started a little bit, probably a year and 4 or 5 months ago. My son, I honestly knew nothing about reacting or anything like that. My son came to me and he said, "Dad, there's this really cool song that Dax did. It's called Dear God." He's like, "I just want to get your perspective on it. Can you go down and do a reaction video?" And I'm like,
No.
"What do you mean, just go down and do a reaction video?" So, long story short, it just kind of went from there. I did my first video and it got some good. I mean, it's not like a lot of views, but I mean, it got a good reaction because of my education. Like I have a teaching, I'm a teacher, so I did teacher reacts to whatever. So I never did it before, and it kind of punched me in the face a little bit on how cool it is to interpret someone else's lyrics and music and then share your experience and then hear feedback from people about it. So that's kind of
Yeah,
how it started.
that's an interesting comment on the last part. I want to ask a question about the teacher part, but I want to comment on the last thing you said. Like, hear other people's comments on your comments is a very interesting uh, part of the whole. Doing a reaction style video is like, first of all, the artist releases their stuff, then you interpret their video or song or lyrics however you think it feels, and
Mhm.
then they kind of interpret your interpretation, and then they kind of comment on that. It's a very interesting cycle how it goes. So that's a fascinating comment you said. So what do you teach, though? I actually didn't realize you were a teacher.
Yeah, I teach alternative education. So basically, it's for kids that are in danger of dropping out of school. It's a very, very unique program that I started 20 some years ago. That's had a lot of accolades, but I try to just keep it low and be humble because that's what I'm. Yeah, when you feel like you're supposed to be doing something.
Sure,
That's,
absolutely.
that's one of those things that I felt completely directed, or however you want to say it, led, or my heart went that way to start. And that and music are the two things for me that I feel like that's what I'm doing, what I'm supposed to be doing, I guess.
Yeah, very cool. That's amazing, actually. How long have you been doing that for?
24 years.
Wow, very cool. Full time still?
Yeah, yep.
Wow. And you
Yep.
still find the time to do YouTube videos and then make your own music and stuff. And
Yeah. I've been trying to honestly gravitate more towards my music lately because that to me has more of significance as far as who I am and what I feel like my life is supposed to represent. So that's kind of where I'm gravitating towards. The YouTube reactions are cool and everything, but it gets to a point where I know you're well aware of the editing becomes a full-time job, and the expectations, people want you to make these funny faces when you're doing thumbnails and all this kind of clickbait stuff, but for me, when it gets into too much of that, it just is not it's not something I like to do when I get into all that. It's more like I want to have a song that I really want to dig into and really just give my thoughts on, or even if it's not a song, maybe it's one time I did a thing called I Sued the School System, and basically was centered around, the need for education to kind of move to where we're at now instead of being very traditional and sometimes useless.
interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. That's kind of cool. Just using, like you said, like using it as a platform rather than,
Right.
just a single thing. Whatever you feel is best to talk about at the moment,
Yep.
you end up talking about, which is pretty wild.